If I had to distill one of the key principles of the Upanishads and my exploration of them, it's been a 12-year journey thus far. One of the key things I'd like to share with you is this concept. Now, it's a translation obviously from Sanskrit into English, and one can never really fully encapsulate it. But I think you'll get what I'm trying to say here. And that is, we do not see things as they are. We see them as we are. I'll say that again. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. And the Upanishads are there to take us on a journey into and through ourselves towards the truth that we are Brahman, and Brahman is us, and Brahman is all. But they're also cognizant of the fact that we, as frail and complicated human beings, are not on an easy journey. And they're cognizant of the fact that there is only one person who's with you from your birth to your death, and that person is you. And that person is me. And every moment of every day of every year of your life, you are your constant companion. Parents, families, friends, lovers, children, wealth, wisdom, power, everything. Every one of these things may change or morph or vanish or perish, but you will still be there as long as you are around. So the Upanishads, knowing this, lay out this beautiful blueprint of how to negotiate and navigate ourselves towards this truth. So I want to share very briefly with you 7 key things, takeaways, if you will. And I've drawn on a variety of the Upanishads, and just where necessary, I'll just share little one-liners, because as I mentioned earlier, it's many of them are just a discourse, either between Brahman and a seeker, or between a father and a son, or between someone who doesn't even know that they're particularly seeking, they're just talking to somebody else, and the truth begins to emerge. So I'll share 7 with you as quickly and as efficiently and as lovingly and respectfully as I can. So the first one is really an understanding of the self. And what makes the Upanishads so revolutionary is that during that time in the Indus Valley, before the Aryans arrived and before language and tools and technology came, there was this concept that if you were a spiritual person, you had to be someone who went out into the forest and disappeared from the rest of the community and just hid away and went into trances and downloaded, if you want, spiritual truth. And these things, of course, became the Vedas that I mentioned earlier. But here's the revolutionary wonder of it all. The Upanishads are saying, you don't have to appease a separate God, a distant God, by rituals or fearing thunder or rain or fire. Quite the opposite. They're saying consciousness is Brahman, and you are Brahman. The self is Brahman. I mean, how revolutionary is that? The second thing is, well, then what is Brahman? And so the Upanishads go on to talk about the nature of it. And I want to share a beautiful story from, and I'm not even going to try to tell you which Upanishads it is, because I don't want to butcher the name of it. But let's just call it the Shivatara. But listen to this story, and I'll be curious at the end when we come to talk about it. Which bird do you think is which? But it talks about two beautiful birds of wondrous plumage who are inseparable friends, it says, who reside on the same branch of the tree. One of these birds eats the fruits of the tree with relish, while the other looks on without eating. Sitting on the same tree, the individual soul can get entangled and feels miserable, being deluded on the account that he or she has forgotten their divine nature. But when one bird sees the other and sees through that bird that Brahman is great and Brahman is all and Brahman is the joy and the satisfaction that is being sought, then this bird is relieved of its misery. And I've read this, I don't know how many times, and I still can't decide which bird is which. The one that is deluded and the one that is the knower and the seer and the understander. Is it the one eating or is it the one watching the one eating? We can discuss. But it says in essence, Brahman, God, source, whatever you want to call it, is the only one hidden in all beings, all pervading, the inner self of all creatures, presiding over everything and everything residing in it. And that really takes us to the next one, which is about the nature of existence. Basically, all the Upanishads share this one conviction, that everything that we see in the world is Brahman, and that Brahman is reality and knowledge and infinity. I love this analogy that the Mundaka Upanishad says, that as the web issues outside the spider, and as plants sprout from the earth and hair grows from the body, even so the universe springs through everything as the source of life. Isn't that beautiful? The fourth thing, interestingly, is the origin of the universe. And I rather like this. This is in the Chandogya Upanishad. It basically says this, and I'm not going to interpret it. I'm just going to share with you what it says, because I think it's profound. In the beginning, my dear, and of course, this is a conversation between a teacher and a seeker. In the beginning, my dear, this universe, this being was alone, one only, without even a second of time. The fifth thing that I wanted to share with you is what we know expressed now through many Hindu practices and Buddhist practices, the idea of mind and attachment and liberation. And let me just share three very brief things from different Upanishads. And the first one is this: it is indeed the mind that is the cause of people's bondage and liberation. The mind that is attached to sense objects leads to bondage, while being disassociated from these leads to liberation. And I love this because I think it's shown up in poems and speeches and teachings especially in the 20th and 21st century. I've heard it in different guises, but how wonderful to discover that its root is in the Upanishads. So listen to this. I'm sure this will be very familiar to you. You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. And from the Maitri Upanishad, more or less the same, which is what one thinks, that they become. This is the eternal mystery. Now, again, before I share the sixth one, which is meditation, to remind you that the Upanishads were revolutionary because in the time of what they call the Vedic era, again, it was sages and seers who were alone and obsessed with ritual and appeasing of the gods or whatever they wanted to call them. Whereas the Upanishads came along and said, actually, no, listen up. You're wrong. You don't have to appease. Everything that you need is within because you are part of all that is. And meditation is one of the keys to unlock that. Again, imagine this is 5,000-year-old wisdom. One of them says, controlling the breath, regulating vital activities. As a charioteer holds back the horses, so does a persevering aspirant restrain his or her mind. Another Upanishad says there is something beyond our mind which abides in silence within our mind. Isn't that extraordinary that it's beyond and within at the same time? And I want to share one of my favorite quotes. It's not exactly it, but I love the Upanishads so much that when I got ordained, I had one of them written on my stole, and it's from the Katha Upanishad. And I wanted to share this. When all the knots that strangle the heart are loosened, the mortal becomes immortal here in this very life. And finally, the notion of bliss. Now, I have done many meditation courses and been in many meditative states with different teachers. And very often you're asked, aren't you, go to your happy place. Think of somewhere where you felt bliss or joy or peace and go there. Now, again, when we come to talk later, I'd love to ask you if you've had a similar experience and what yours might be. But I always go to a particular moment when I was bobbing in the Indian Ocean, just on the coast of Perth in Western Australia. And it was one of those perfect moments. The sky was perfect blue. The sea was perfect blue. The sand was perfect white. There was no sense of danger, like a shark about to come and eat me or anything like that. And I just remember I felt such bliss that I actually laughed out loud, even though I was on my own in the ocean. Such was my joy. But here's the kicker, that the Upanishads say that true bliss is actually not anything that's external, that generates it in us. Rather, they say it's the absence of fear, and it is not related to any form of desire or physicality whatsoever. I wanted to share two of those quotes from the different Upanishads. One is, Brahman is bliss. Those who know the bliss of Brahman fears nothing at any time. And another kicker, bliss is 100-fold greater than the satisfaction of a desire. Wow. So in conclusion, I wanted to share two closings. Each Upanishad often has either a peace mantra or some kind of sort of like a swaha, like a and so be it type quote at the end. And I pulled two of my favorite to wrap up my sermon with you today. And again, I'm so aware that I've literally just skated across the surface of something that is so deep, and I feel almost ashamed doing it. But thank you for allowing me the chance just to dip my toe in with you into the wonder of the Upanishads. And let me finish with this. First of all, one of the peace chants. Om. May Brahman protect us both. Now, why both? Because as I said, you've just been in a conversation that you've been overhearing in the Upanishads. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. And may we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And the final one is another concluding peace chant, and it goes like this. And I think this is something maybe I should stitch on the other side of my stole. May we hear only what is good for all. May we see only what is good for all. May we serve you, giver of love and all our life. May we be used to spread your peace on earth. And let it be so. Thank you, everybody.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.